much for joining me on another episode where we're spotlighting entrepreneur stories, their journey, and all of their lessons. So I'm super excited to have my guest Victoria with us today. Victoria, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Macy. I'm so glad we're connected, and I'm looking forward to sharing some gold nuggets with your audience today.
I'm so excited as well. Victoria and I connected not too long ago, but when she was just sharing a little bit about her story, just a few tidbits, I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for my audience to learn some things. And I know someone's gonna get something from this. So I'll let you kind of like take it away and kind of share a little bit about your story and your journey and kind of what brought you to where you are today.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, in a nutshell, about 2.5 years ago, I kind of had, in quotes, made it to the American dream. I had the house, I had the dogs, I had the partner, I had the corporate job, I had everything. I had this checklist going gold. Unfortunately, what was really happening behind closed doors is a whole nother story. My health was terrible. My relationships were poor. My boundaries were broken. It was a very unhealthy kind of lifestyle. And yet I was still choosing like in my mind, like, well, this is normal, right? This is the end all be all. And it was so unfulfilling. So after some reflection and starting to invest more in who I am and who I wanted to be, it turns out that I had these thought patterns that were kind of brought upon me at a young age. It's coming from our parents, it's coming from our experiences as children. And I realized that this wasn't even my life that I wanted to live. I wanted something so much more outside of this normal American dream life. And after some really hard conversations and like shining light through a lot of shadow work, I went through a divorce process. I left my home behind and I moved cities, and I was inspired by my journey, by this reflective process, and the fact that it's not well adversed or educated about how important it is to get to know yourself before you make the investment towards someone else. And that's what we kind of see around relationships, whether it's personal or even professionally. Like, if you want to succeed, you got to get to know who you are and create that confidence for yourself before you go out there. And then personally, you need to understand what your values, your non-negotiables are. I'm not saying heal your complete work, but get to know who you are before you put this unrealistic expectation on how someone should love you if you don't even know how to love yourself. And so that's pretty much my little journey. I've traveled across the world the past year and a half now, and then I was inspired to create programs. I do a lot of intimate virtual containers online. And then I also, when I get the opportunity, I'll go speak at some conferences that are generally focused towards women's health, especially when it's towards mental and sexual wellness. And then I was inspired to launch a podcast this summer, which has been exciting. And yeah, this everything is still fire and we're still moving forward. So that's a little nuggets about
Yeah.
me.
Well, that's so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. It's really easy, I think, for us to see other lives and just be like, oh, that's easy enough, right? I can do that. I'll just copy what everyone else is doing. And then you don't, like you said, take the time, you don't slow down and really reflect on, wait, is that really what I want to be doing? Is that really where my heart lies? Is that really where my passions lie? And it can be a hard question to ask. And then it can be a hard journey, I think, to do it alone, which is, I think, what stops a lot of people from really asking those questions to themselves.
Absolutely. It's one of those things where we don't allow ourselves the space to do it because there's a part of us that feels we're unworthy to even consider the fact that, oh, wait a minute, I'm my own unique being and I deserve so much more. What? That's crazy. And I'm here to shut that down.
Yeah, and I think that's a really unique aspect in that is that obviously I hadn't really even considered that either, but I think worth plays a huge factor into our lives in ways that we don't even realize. It's like, oh, I think it can start as small as like, when you're a kid and you're taught, you're not really supposed to accept compliments, right? You're supposed to be like, oh no, it was not that big of a deal. Like, you did something, it wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't work that hard. Don't worry about it. You're not really supposed to accept these things, but that's what continues to compound in our lives until we don't even realize what it's really become until we're so much older and we're like, wait a minute, why do I feel the need that I can't just say thank you to someone, that I can't just accept what they're giving me when it comes to something as simple as, you look nice today or anything like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's super cool to kind of think about that for myself. So you shared a little bit about what you're doing and how you're helping some people right now. Do you want to dive a little bit more into that and what you're really helping women and other people discover about themselves when it comes to, you said sexual wellness, and mental health and all those spaces?
Sure. So what I offer are these, virtual, it's like coaching slash therapy. It's a very therapeutic model, and it's based upon research and then my own personal experiences. And we navigate what these mental blocks are, like these thought patterns that are happening, which are impacting your current relationships or even the relationships you're wanting. So anyone who's feeling like stuck or stagnant in their lifestyle, they're wanting to grow in a company, they're wanting to attract a specific partner. What they don't recognize is the fact that things that are running on autopilot are normal, and they're whatever it is that there's this desiring, they're creating another, like there's a feedback loop that's happening. It's like, I'm unworthy, or I'm not allowed to have this, or as you said, don't accept the compliments. I'm not working hard enough. So we go through a strategy where we kind of figure out, we get to the root cause of what these thought patterns are. And typically it is something as small as like your parents telling you no at a young age, and like that was it. That was it. And you never do it again. It's like, don't touch the hot stove. You touch it, it's hot. You're not going to do it again. But your body remembers that and your brain remembers it too. So I help them remove those blocks. We install new pattern behaviors, new thought patterns. We practice a lot of, implementing a routine or creating your own routine with different levels of self-care, from meditating to creating movements or your very own, like going to the gym, taking walks. Even though it sounds small, you're starting to build this consistency with yourself while I provide the accountability, because that's what we need. Like, we do need that little bit of encouragement. And then by the time we close out the program, you're already feeling, more confident. I've had clients who, I'm just going to touch briefly on one of my female clients, and she, went through an unfortunate breakup. And by the end of our sessions together, she was already planning, like she was not planned, but she was asked out on 3 different dates. And she's feeling more confident in herself because she finally recognized how valuable she really was, and that the experience she had nothing to do with who she was as a person. But we do need, as you say, like it's important to connect with people who can help shine that light for you. And then you have to you have to be willing to do the work. So if you're ready to get to know yourself a little bit more than you realize, I'm here for it. That's what we're here for.
That's amazing. You're doing some really great work in women's lives and other people's lives. So this is so amazing to hear, just the little tidbits and what you're starting. But that's amazing. So I'd love to know, considering, you're pretty new, I would say, me too as well, on your entrepreneur journey. Are there any lessons you've learned that you're like, wow, I didn't even realize this was something I'm gonna have to deal with, something I'm gonna have to learn?
Oh, lesson. Slow down. It's so easy to get like super passionate, super excited, putting your energy in. And it's, for me, I learn this all the time. Like, I'm in this process right now where it's cut out the time, like walk what you're talking about.
Mm.
I preach self-love all the time. I'm encouraging health. And then I forget to do it myself, because there's nothing more that I feel fulfilled than holding space for others. And then I need to do that for myself. So I find it very important, even as a business owner. I'm a morning person. So if you want to get up a couple extra minutes early before you jump on that phone call, just to take a walk around the block, or maybe you go to the gym in the morning, but I would highly recommend giving yourself time to disconnect before you step into your work, because your work is part of your legacy. However, at the same time, there's a part of you that, deserves to be seen too. So I would say creating space for yourself as an entrepreneur is going to help you show up far greater than where you're at right now. Because if you burn out, or if you start feeling like resentment or stuck or icky, then it's not helping you, it's not helping your clients, and it's going to hurt your business more.
Yeah, and I think, it circles back to what you were talking about when it comes to like relationships, right? It's not like no one's saying that it's impossible to be loved if you don't really understand yourself, but it's super helpful when being in that relationship and when, hardships arises, knowing how, you react, how they react, how you guys can react together, it's a huge benefit to the relationship, which is the same thing as work, and knowing yourself. So it all circles back to what you're talking about, what you're preaching, and that's amazing. It's one of those fundamentals that I don't think we want to talk about as much, but it's there, and it's always important to have, like you mentioned, an outside source, a coach, to really be there, to be your accountability partner, and look through those blind spots that we don't see about ourselves, or things that we're used to doing. Like I know there are so many things that I see my friends put up with, and I'm like, why do you put up with this? And they're like, I didn't even realize I was doing that. Is that really how it is? I'm like, yeah, it is. And then they do it back to me. So it's really helpful to have someone like Victoria come in and help you with that. So thank you so much for sharing. Well, before we wrap it up, I really appreciated our time together, and this is a really fun topic for me. So this could easily be like a 5-hour podcast, I think, or a conversation. But to wrap it up, I'd love to know, who is an entrepreneur, dead or alive, that you'd love to have a cup of coffee or tea or whatever beverage of your choice with, and why?
Oh man. I would absolutely love to sit with Esther Perel.
Okay, I don't think I know of Esther too much. Can you share just a little bit really quickly?
Absolutely. I think, yeah, her book's right in front of me too. She's also a therapist who focuses a lot on sex and intimacy in relationships. Her perspective and her expertise are just phenomenal. Reading her book, it's not just, she doesn't go in from one way. She sees things from all perspectives and gives us a wider lens to truly appreciate like the relationships we have. And I do think her approach is gentle, but also it's very fierce. So it's also like, this is the reality of the situation. Like, what are you willing to do? And she does have her own podcast. She's got these really great games that you can bring with your friends or your partners as well. But I love listening to her speak, and I find her information to be just absolutely like inspiring, like for my work and how I wish to continue serving like my community and my clients. So Esther, if you're watching this, I love that.
That's amazing. I'll definitely look her up because that's
Yes.
great. And I think that's really important when it comes to being a coach. Is like I'm sure you've experienced this too, when you're dealing with someone and you don't know how you kind of want to break this kind of like hard reality check where you're like, okay, I think this is happening because of this. And I think as long as you're tactile and you do it with grace, the other person tends to appreciate it so much more than just being like, okay, just keep going, you're doing fine. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it at all. So I'm so glad that you brought that up in Esther. So I'll definitely be looking her up. So Victoria, thank you so much for the time today. This was a total blast. I really appreciated it.
Thank you. Thank you, Macy. I appreciate it. This was wonderful. And I love like the little nuggets that we can.
Definitely. And to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well. And I will see you next time.